Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tark's Gauntlet Game Room Tour of 2023. This game room contains about 1,200 games across various consoles. The shelves and lighting were all built and set up by myself and my wife, and everything else is just kind of without any rhyme or reason. Most of this tour will just be looking at the games and pointing them out, and while I put the option out there for a shorter video, one that's more of a tour and maybe less of a record for insurance purposes, you all voted by a landslide to keep it long, so here's hoping that what you asked for and what you wanted are one and the same. Damn it. So obviously we're not going to be able to do this entire room tour in low light conditions like this, so let's get the tour started. We can end that clip now. Okay, so I guess we'll start the room tour about where we come in. The curtain is blue. Thanks for coming to the tour. All right, so right above the curtain here, we have all of the Animal Crossing amiibos. I think this was for the Amiibo Party. I honestly don't remember what this amiibo line is for, but my wife really likes Animal Crossing, so we got pretty much all of them, except maybe one or two. Over there, we got the 30th anniversary Zelda ones and 30th anniversary Mario ones. Up above here, we have some of the Breath of the Wild ones, but we are missing a couple that we would like. So right here to the left of where we enter the room is most of our retro games. I put the games that I really care about, the important ones, inside the these old rental cases, and everything else. I mean, there's still some good ones not in cases, like Batman's a classic. Anticipation, best NES cover there is. Also a super fun game, like actually. There's no way I could show off every game here, but Final Fantasy 1, obviously a classic. If you got an NES, it's gotta be on everybody's list. Zelda 1, Zelda 2. I'm in that weird camp that I actually prefer The Adventures of Link, Zelda 2. Mega Man 2, honest to God, my favorite game, literally ever. So we got Mega Man 3, Ninja Gaiden, the first one, probably still the best one. Ninja Gaiden 2, never beat that one, but it is a fun time. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and River City Ransom. I was lucky and got Mike Tyson's Punch-Out at a time when it was like a $5 game. River City Ransom, I think we got in a lot for 30 bucks, and that was it. River City Ransom at least was worth the 30. Star Tropics, absolutely classic game. Most people do tend to forget it had a sequel, Zoda's Revenge, Star Tropics 2. Not as big of a fan of that one. And my favorite Mario game, Super Mario Bros. 3. Not exactly uncommon, but it definitely deserves the case here. Oh, what else do we got up here? Xanadu, part of the Xanadu series. Not exactly the first Falcom game I played. That would have to go to Legacy of the Wizard? Was this was Falcom, right? It probably was. If it's not, I'll cut that out in editing. Little Nemo Dream Masters. Little Nemo is honestly one of my favorite movies from growing up. It's terrifying. It's honestly a terrifying game. Not games. Honestly, a terrifying movie. Maybe kids today wouldn't get along the best with it, with the nightmare sequences and stuff, but I don't know. I always loved that movie. Hey, Ray. Super Mario Bros. 2, this thing is, it's pretty hard looking. I might need a label replacement for that someday. So we got the first Metal Gear, Nightshade, complete in box TMNT that somebody colored one of the turtles in with a black pen. It was like $11. I don't exactly mind. And the TMNT 2 arcade game, which I consider leagues and bounds better than the first game, also in need of a better label. So moving on to the Super Nintendo here, I guess we'll start with the Tales of Fantasia Japanese cart, although we also have the Tales of Fantasia fan translation. This is the DJAT fan translation from the early 2000s. That's the version that I beat way back in the day when I first discovered it on emulator. And while there's issues with the translation, I still think it's a better experience than the official Game Boy Advance North American copy. So otherwise, let's see, Disney's Aladdin, absolute classic game, hard as nails, but really good. Castlevania 4, again, another classic. Not my favorite Castlevania, though. The original Donkey Kong Country trilogy. Of course, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest, is easily my favorite. Honestly, probably one of the best platformers ever made. Final Fantasy 3, which of course we all know is not Final Fantasy 3. I do not have Final Fantasy 2 cartridge. I am still looking for that for the collection. Here we have a fan translation of, what is this one? Fire Emblem, Mystery of the Emblem. I thought there was 2 games on this one, but I might be a little confused. If any of you think the Fire Emblem games are hard now. Yeah, give that a try. Illusion of Gaia. Thankfully, not an extremely expensive SNES game yet, though it might be there someday. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, still one of the best Legend of Zelda games. There we go. Super Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars. I recently beat this one again on Steam Deck. My opinion on it isn't as good as it used to be. It's still a fantastic, classic experience, but it's a little long in the tooth. Once you get to about that 5th star, things start to fizzle out a little bit. So Mega Man X, the only of the X games we have. Mega Man X2 and 3 is beyond an unreasonable price at this point, so emulate the shit out of it. Super Metroid. Again, this is probably like $70, $80 cartridge now. It's been a long time since I looked at it. Wouldn't recommend paying the price unless you're, super into Metroid, but like there's plenty of easier ways and cheaper ways to play it. The original Star Fox is up there. I'm not the biggest fan of the that 10 FPS space shooter, but it started something. Turtles 4, Turtles in Time, another classic arcade style TMNT game. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. This is easily my favorite of the Mortal Kombat series. This is where the series has peaked to me. It's incredibly unbalanced. It feels very unfair at times, but I don't know, there's a certain level of magic to those fighters that didn't seek to balance everything, where online play didn't matter. Yoshi's Island. A lot of people prefer this one over Super Mario World. I'm not exactly one of them, but it's not a bad game. Despite handling them several times over the course of filming, apparently I neglected to point out these two Dragon Slayer games here, The Legend of Heroes 1 and The Legend of Heroes 2. Now these do work in a North American Super Nintendo, provided you break out these two little bits of plastic in the cartridge port, but that's not actually going to help me read them, so I haven't played through these, but just as a fan of the series and for historical purposes, figured I'd add them to the collection. On to the N64, we have a complete in-box Conker's Bad Fur Day. This was one of the first games I sought out when we started collecting for the N64, started building our game collection. It was a little expensive even at the time, that was like 12, 13 years ago, but I don't think the price has gone up all that much from then. Complete in-box Turok 2 Seeds of Evil. This is what I would consider the peak of the Turok trilogy on the N64. Beware, Oblivion is at hand, still stuck in my memory. It's a cheat code for like everything in the game. So 1080p Avalanche, classic game. Blast Corps, that's one that my wife picked up. Same with Bust-A-Move 2. Carmageddon, I have more memories of this on PC. I've actually never played this N64 cartridge, but maybe I'll get to it someday. Diddy Kong Racing, I definitely prefer this to Mario Kart 64. Just the quest structure adds a whole lot to the game. GoldenEye 007, of course, a classic, kind of revolutionized FPSs for the home console. Harvest Moon 64, still, honestly, one of the best looking Harvest Moon games. I love the art style for this game. Kirby the Crystal Shards. It's Kirby in 3D, 2.5D if you will. Not the biggest fan. Zelda Ocarina of Time. I mean, it's a classic for a reason. I think it still holds up. It can be played better in other places than the N64, so I'd say, maybe look at it on 3DS or something. Mario Kart 64. There's no music in multiplayer mode. That's all I'm gonna say on that one. Mario Party 2. It's Mario Party 2. Super Mario 64 kind of revolutionized the 3D platformer on the N64. This is when I started to get out of Mario games, so I was never the biggest fan of Mario 64. I know that's sacrilege to some people. Nightmare Creatures, Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, they don't really need all that much said about them. Quest 64, one of the very few RPGs on the N64, and not a good example of one. Road Rash, again, this is when the series went 3D. I say I definitely prefer the entries on Genesis. Super Smash Bros., the original, the one that started it all. I don't know if there's many other better places to play this. It might have only been on N64, maybe on the eShop or something. I've never looked into it. And there we have Turok 1 and 3. Still good games, just, they're not Seeds of Evil. And the rest don't really need all that much said about them. War Gods, Win Back, Wipeout, WWF, No Mercy. I will say that the wrestling games were way better back then. And Yoshi's Story. So moving on to complete in-box Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance games. I don't really know why they're bunched together, they just are. So, the original Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Crystal, Golden Sun The Lost Age. I do not have the first one complete in box. I do have the first one, but just not complete in box. The Legend of Zelda, this is from the classic NES series, which was, the line of old NES games ported to GBA. And Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team, a favorite of my wife's. Uh-oh. It is really hard to do this with one hand. Okay, Nintendo DS. We're still on the first shelf here. 999. Excellent title. I prefer its sequel a little more. I know that's divisive. Not everybody does. Brain Age, Clubhouse Games. Don't need to say anything about that. Cooking Mama, back when the series was good. The Dragon Quest games on DS have kind of gone up in price now that Dragon Quest XI has made the series a little popular. But here we got Dragon Quest IX, Sentinels of the Starry Sky. The Final Fantasy III remake on DS. Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, another one a little difficult to get these days. Thankfully not as difficult as Path of Radiance or Radiant Dawn. Hotel Dusk. This is actually one of the most recent additions to the collection. I have not got to play it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. Always been curious about this one. This and Trace Memory. I do not own Trace Memory yet. The DS also had some fantastic Kirby games. So we have Kirby Mass Attack and Kirby Superstar Ultra. Super Mario 64 DS. I already said my piece on Super Mario 64. This one fixes some issues while introducing others. I'll leave it at that. Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, one of the highest rated games on the DS. I prefer the other Mario and Luigi games a little bit more. It is what it is. I tried to love this one as much as everybody else. It didn't really work. Nintendogs was kind of like a revolutionary game. Nostalgia, a little bit of a hidden gem sort of RPG on the DS. I don't think a lot of people bought it when it came out. It might not be that expensive yet, but I'd say give it some time. So Pokemon Diamond and Heart Gold. These are excessively expensive now, if I recall. Pokemon Ranger, Shadows of... How do you even say that? Almia? Shadows of Almia?
Maybe.
Did you play this one?
Yeah, I broke my DS on it.
Oh, cool. I'm not the biggest Pokemon guy, so most of the Pokemon games you see here are my wife's. Professor Layton and the Unwound Future. This is also a pretty recent addition to the collection. The best game in my collection, Smart Boys Toys Club, ages 3 and up. I did beat this one. Star Fox Command Style Lab Makeover. This series is like remarkably popular, which kind of confuses me. I do not get the appeal. I have one for, I guess, whenever I wanna figure out the appeal, but like, it really doesn't look like my thing. Look at this. I don't see how this is a big thing. At least I think it's the Style Lab series that's popular. It's getting a new one on the Switch with a bunch of like influencer shit. The World Ends With You, a classic game now ported to other systems. Control scheme is divisive at best. Valkyrie Profile, Covenant of the Plume. It's like a TRPG. I guess it's not really a spin-off. It's still sort of like a mainline entry. I don't really know how to categorize this one. A follow-up anyway to the original Valkyrie Profile and Valkyrie Profile Lenneth. Animal Crossing New Leaf. Many still consider this the apex of the series. I should say also we're on to 3DS games now. Bust a Move, Codename Steam. We got this for $1 at a GameStop, because I think they had way too many copies. I know nothing about it except that it has a lot of amiibo support. Maybe I'll play it someday. Corpse Party on the 3DS. This was my introduction to the series. It's okay. I think I was expecting a little bit more based on its reputation. It does come with some cool little figures in there for the collectors. Either way, happy to see it got a physical release and with all these extras in there. So we got 4 of the Etrian Odyssey games here, one of them the Etrian Mystery Dungeon, which we got a cool little poster for pre-ordering. This series is also thankfully coming back. It's not completely dead and, you know, left on the 3DS. My favorite game on the 3DS, Fantasy Life. I think this went under a lot of people's radars. It's just a wildly addictive little RPG sim game. Of course, Fire Emblem Awakening, the game that awoken the audience in the West. Fire Emblem Echoes continued what Awakening started, a little bit on the easier side compared to the earlier games. And Fire Emblem Fates, the Collector's Edition, the only way to get all 3 parts of the game. I think all 3 parts are on the 2 cartridges? Or is it 1?
You still have to download the 3rd one.
You still have to download the 3rd one, which is kind of lame, but it was the cheapest way to get all 3 parts, and we were going to get all 3 parts. So Harvest Moon, Kid Icarus, a homemade case for Kirby Planet Robobot. This is what happens when you order from EB Games and GameStop online, and they send you a cartridge only or like a completely busted up case. You do your best and you make it fit in. Kirby Triple Deluxe is another one of my favorite games on the 3DS. excellent little Kirby game. We got this nice big box of Legend of Legacy. There's the Ocarina of Time 3DS, Majora's Mask 3DS, A Link Between Worlds, top 5, top 6 Legend of Zelda games. I don't really know where I'd rank it, but it's really high up there. The first sequel to Luigi's Mansion, Lord of Magna, Made in Heaven. Definitely a unique game. Weird bowling mechanics in the combat system. Everybody in the game has amnesia. The 2 big Monster Hunter games on 3DS, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, more Pokemon, Popolo Croix. I was in a video recently about hidden gem RPGs on the Gaming Shelf channel, and I was very happy to see David Vink recommend Popolo Croix for the 3DS. Not for the 3DS, for the PSP, though the 3DS one's also a good entry. The Mega Man Legacy Collection. Of course, I had to get this one. Mega Man 2 is my favorite game, and it comes with a cool little Mega Man gold amiibo. What's fun about these amiibos is sometimes you see thumbprints in the gold painting. Senran Kagura Deep Crimson, the Double D edition. This was a little rare and uncommon for a while, but VGP recently put out a new printing of it. My introduction to the SMT series, Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Soul Hackers, is a bit of a mouthful. I've been told this isn't the best introduction to the series, but it is what it is. That's where I started. Spirit Camera, kind of a spin-off of Fatal Frame. Stella Glow, one of the best games on the system. Cliche to high heaven, but goddamn is it just a pretty game with really good music. Ever Oasis, really uncommon title. I think it's probably going to be regarded very highly in the future, but I will say the game was like kind of average at best. I think I expected a little more than what I got. Story of Season, Super Smash Bros., Theater Rhythm, Final Fantasy, Fantastic Rhythm Games, Final Fantasy Curtain Call, and Yoshi's New Island, which people weren't too crazy about, but I beat it. It was okay. It was fine. Moving on to PSP, we have a pretty small library here, and we don't really have to look at them all. Most of these I got in a lot, but Blade Dancer, Fate Extra, we went out of our way to get. It's kind of a weird game, not exactly the most fun thing in the universe. Final Fantasy 1 Remake, the Final Fantasy 2 Remake, Final Fantasy IV Complete Collection Remake. I'm playing this on my Steam Deck right now. Final Fantasy Tactics, The War of the Lions, which is kind of a remake of the original Final Fantasy Tactics, completely retranslated. Great place to play the game. I guess we paid $1.50 for it. Any Katamari game is welcome on the handheld. Phantasy Star Portable. I've not played this one yet. This was recently donated to me by a neighbor. As too was Star Ocean First Departure, which I'm really looking forward to. I've actually never played the original Star Ocean games. Retro City Rampage DX. This is just a case with a really weird history. I'm not going to go over it here. It would take a while, but feel free to look into it. And Mana Khemia Student Alliance, which was a pretty butchered PSP game, also donated by my neighbor, but that's actually not what's in the case. Inside is E7, which is a considerably better game. Now I just need a case for it. Onto the PS Vita. I've covered a lot of these games in the past, so Root Letter, BlazBlue, Chrono Phantasma, Child of Light, Criminal Girls. Criminal Girls 2 is down here. Conception 2, Disgaea, Drive Girls. I actually have 2 copies of this game. I recommend everybody have 0 copies of it. Danganronpa 1 and 2, not in the right order. Dungeon Travelers 2, honestly a pretty good little dungeon RPG, very lewd. Sony probably would not allow that to be published on their systems today. Galgun Double Peace, again, another game Sony probably might have some issues with. Gravity Rush, one of the premier PS Vita games, one of the biggest reasons to own one. It was, got an HD remaster and re-released on PS4, though it's not that easy to get. And of course, Project Diva F2nd, the Hatsune Miku rhythm game. These are wildly addictive. Not really my kind of music, but it is a lot of fun to play. Down to the next shelf, we got some imports here. So Lumo imported from PAL regions, a weird little sort of platformer. Moe Chronicle imported from Asian territories. This actually does have a North American release now. Sword Art Online, Hollow Fragment. This also got a North American release later under the name of Hollow Realization, I believe. Tales of Hearts R, exclusive to the PS Vita in North America. There was a Tales of Hearts on DS with some really funky looking intro cinematics. Tearaway, one of the games that uses the PS Vita's technology to the best effect. Thomas Was Alone, a very minimalistic sort of puzzle platformer very cute. It makes you care a lot about the characters, which are all just shapes. Tokyo Xanadu, another Falcom classic. A lot of people really, really like this game. You know, compared to anything else they make, it's definitely below the mark, but I thought it was all right. Trails of Cold Steel 2. We got Trails of Cold Steel 1 in a bigger box on the top shelves over there. There's the second part of the, did I call them the Nonary games earlier?
I think so.
999. Of course, the first of the Nonary games. I meant the Zero Escape trilogy. I'll just skip that part. Virtue's Last Reward, the second part of the Zero Escape trilogy, and honestly, a game that I would consider one of the top tier visual novels out there. There's part 3 there, Zero Time Dilemma. I would not consider this top tier visual novel. It's still a cool game. It's got a lot of cool ideas, but it's definitely the weakest of the trilogy by a country mile. Right here, we got the Danganronpa spin-off, Ultra Despair Girls, a weird sort of third-person shooter. The Deathmark Limited Edition. I honestly think the Vita is the best place for this game. Dengenki Bunko Fighting Climax. You can play this on PS3 too. It's probably better there. Criminal Girls 2. Definitely one of the most unique RPGs on the system. The first and second game were both heavily censored in the West. They handled the censorship, however, way better in Criminal Girls 2. Senran Kagura Bon Appetit, the sort of rhythm cooking game spin-off. Now one of many spin-offs for Senran Kagura. I believe this was the first, however. And Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus. I would probably consider this the apex of the Senran Kagura series. The combat's fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but there's a lot of really good character backstories in the game. And Tokyo Tattoo Girls Limited Edition, another game I would recommend everybody own 0 copies of. And just here at the end, we have a little Pikachu 3DS and 2 other 3DSs, or regular DSs, sorry. What is in there? What is that? Is that nothing?
That comes with it.
Oh, okay, it's just a little dust plug, I guess. Hey, what's in here?
IR4 card.
I don't really have anything to say about that. So that's about it for the retro. What is this shelf? That's about it for the semi-retro, semi-handheld shelf, I guess. PS Vita games are not retro, neither are 3DS, but whatever, that's what we call the retro shelf. Over here, let's just move on to some of the entertainment stuff, I guess. We have Xbox Series X. Right now I have the GameCube, or rather the Wii, hooked up to a RetroTink 5, which is running through my computer. This is just a capture computer. 2060 in there, 2 terabyte NVMe drive. It's not a crazy system, but it's just there for capturing. Again, Vex on the TV. Sometimes I just want to play Vex. Under here we have just other consoles that are not packed away right now, so the PS3 and PS4. PS3 is not packed away because it's too big. Now heading over this way, we have the GameCube, Wii, Wii U, Switch, Xbox, Xbox 360, Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, Intellivision, and Atari games. It's a lot on one little shelf. Also Xbox One, but like I don't have space to put that anywhere down here. But we'll start with the top shelf. Across the top shelf on all 3 of these, we put collector's edition, so I guess we'll look at those first. Tales of Zestiria, the Xbox 360 version of South Park, Stick of Truth. We found this in a Best Buy for $30. Spider wire around it, completely crushing the box, so we got the best one we could while we were there. Still not perfect. Ring Fit, I beat that game. It was arduous journey. Collector's edition of Soul Calibur 4, Sakuna of Rice and Ruin. This was probably the first special edition I got for the PS Vita. HTOL pound NIQ, the Firefly Diaries. Supposed to be pronounced Tataru no Niki. Up here we have Fate Extella, the Umbral Star. Kind of a Muso-like game, but you know, on Vita they don't have the most potential to put all that many enemies on the screen, so maybe not the best place to play it. Trails of Cold Steel, the special edition here. This was my introduction to the Trails series, which you guys know I've played all of them since that have had English translations as far as Trails of Cold Steel 4. Mighty Number 9. I backed this game and it took so long for the rewards to come in that I also purchased the collector's edition in store, so I technically have 2 copies. I think my backer's version was a Wii U copy, which apparently they were bricking Wii U's, so it's a good thing I got the PS4 version, which the game's okay. It's overhated, but it's not great. It's okay. Another little niche game that kind of went under the radar here, Little Dragon's Cafe, which comes with a little dragon plush in there. And The Last of Us Part 2, giant collector's edition. One good thing about the massive controversy and discourse around this game. Some people didn't want to pick up their collector's editions once the leaks came out, and then EB Games marked them down to super low prices. So I was able to get this probably cheaper than what the game was around the time. At the time I bought this, I hadn't even played The Last of Us Part 1 yet. I have played them both as of the last 6 months. Moving over to the other collector's edition shelf, we have Mirror's Edge Catalyst, a giant collector's edition. That doesn't come with the game because they're a bunch of fucking idiots. God of War 3 Collector's Edition has a cool little gold box inside. Here's probably one of the most expensive Wii U games at this point. The Project Zero Maiden of Blackwater Limited Edition, imported from PAL territories, because in North America, we didn't get physical editions. Unfortunately, this is kind of just a paperweight. Wii U's are region locked. I cannot play this version on my Wii U, but we do have physical versions I can play here now. Above that, this is Galgun Returns. No, not Galgun Returns. Galgun 2 Free Hugs Edition. I believe I done an unboxing of this forever ago. It's probably still up on the channel for anybody who wants to see what's in there. The Dark Souls 2 Collector's Edition on PS3 actually has a really cool statue on the inside and a nice display box for it. The Dark Souls 3 Collector's Edition, I'm not going to take it down, it's too friggin' big. Also a cool figure inside. Darksiders 3 Collector's Edition, the game kind of bombed. These again were also stuck in EB Games for a while, so I got it for a good price. I actually haven't played this one yet, but I am replaying the Darksiders games right now. I just finished the definitive edition of Darksiders 2, so I should be moving on to that soon. The Tales Collector's Editions. Tales of Xillia 1 and Tales of Xillia 2 are both excellent collector's editions that any Tales fan should have. They have great figures on the inside. The Doom 2016 Collector's Edition. This one also has a really cool figure on the inside of the character you see on the cover there. I ended up buying this after beating Doom 2016 because I like the game that much, and I sent my original copy to my friend who is out west. The Sonic Mania Collector's Edition. Lots of cool pack-ins. Piece of shit because I didn't include the game. They just gave you a download code. And the Gears of War 3 Collector's Edition, another giant statue inside. That's actually a really good collector's edition that I got at a really low price because Walmarts were over encumbered with them and they take up too much space. So they just wanted to get rid of them. We'll move along here where we got some more collector's editions on the wall. A random Dream Theater placard a friend made for me. Signed Camelot Shadow Key box. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice envelope, like mail opener. This was a pre-order bonus for the game. Xenoblade Chronicles X. That game's gotta be worth something by now. It's still locked to the Wii U. Of course, we have the other Xenoblade Definitive Edition, Collector's Edition, Xenoblade 2, and Xenoblade 3 Special Editions. Hi, Leia. You good? Moving on, we got this massively oversized collector's edition of Galgun Double Piece. The box is only this large because it had a wall scroll inside. Nowadays, most companies would just pack that separately. The Senran Kagura Estival versus Bahanka's edition that I imported from the UK or somewhere out that way. Fire Emblem Three Houses, the Switch's only current mainline Fire Emblem game. Special edition, I have an unboxing for this as well. Ys Origins, not exactly a special edition, but one of the earlier limited run games, Vita games that I wanted to make sure we got. Just a random Pokemon puzzle here and another video game puzzle. Behind this, we got Night Trap. Kind of just bought that for historical purposes. I think it's a really interesting story, what happened with Night Trap. The Valkyrie Drive Bikuni Collector's Edition. Mary Skelter, finally. People really didn't like when I said that in the video. Look, guys, it was a joke. I know it's Mary Skelter finale. Mary Skelter 1 Collector's Edition on Vita, which was, I believe, just exclusive to the Idea Factory store. This got really expensive for a while. I don't know if it still is, because Mary Skelter 1 is technically included with every copy of Mary Skelter 2, but, it's something I guess I'll keep my eye on. I don't check prices for things very often. And then we got Neptunia X Senran Kagura Ninja Wars Collector's Edition. The Collector's Edition is a little better than the game itself was. Along these walls, I have some art from Zumi. I got one here, one there, one there. The random Fire Emblem Three Houses. I believe this was a pre-order bonus. Ray, the first of many Ava girls you'll probably see around this room. A giant acrylic for Umihara Kawase Bazooka. The company that published this in Games actually sent me this sometime after the review. Just being transparent about that. This did not color my review any. Arion, the Theory of Everything poster. This came with the Theory of Everything album. Buried behind here, something nobody's gonna recognize. Behold the Octopus Horror Sentience. I got this because I ordered a big bundle for their Horror Sentience album. I don't think there's many people out there who know what Behold the Octopus is. And on the wall here, as part of the collector's edition that came with Camelot album, we have a giant cloth poster. Moving to the right from there, this is Starlink Battle for Atlas, which we don't have the game of. So I think the game done so poorly that they removed all the actual games themselves from these box sets and then sent these to dollar stores. So we got this little R-Wing figure that you can play with the game for like $3. And a BB-8, which is probably the first of many Star Wars things you'll see around here. And one of the only good things to come of the sequel trilogy. In the figure cabinet, I got my Ava girls, starting with Shinji, the most prominent of the Ava girls. Moving down, we got a lot of different things in here. Some K-On! Stuff, some Tales of Symphonia, the tall neck from Horizon. We got a 2B back there with her little pod. Oh, an Icaros from Heaven's Lost Property. Down on the next shelf, the most important figure of them all. We got Jar Jar Binks there in his Gundam battle attire. Did I say Gundam?
Yes.
Gungan battle attire. Some of our handhelds on stands here. So a couple Game Boy Colors, Game Boy Advance, SP, PSP, 2 PS Vitas, 2 PS TVs, and a little Kylo Ren, and a little Ewok. God, I love the Ewoks. I think Fett here is on some hard times. Across the bottoms here, just more Star Wars Lego. The Grievous Wheel Bike's a really cool one. Over here, we got the X-Wing, little R2 figure. Moving up from there, we're into the wife's figures at this point. So some Fire Emblem, some Sword Art, a lot of Fate on the next shelf. And up from there, we got our Witcher girls. I don't remember what that monster's called back there. Anyway, a Monster Hunter guy. So let's move on back to the GameCube shelf and take a look at the more interesting things we got here. So going through the GameCube stuff alphabetically, we got Baten Kaitos Eternal Wings in the Lost Ocean. I just done a big ass video on this that came at the worst time. Charlie's Angels. God, what a terrible piece of shit that game is. So Donkey Konga 2, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem, one of few M-rated games on the GameCube. Excellent little horror game. There's really nothing else quite like it. Geist, another one of the few M-rated games on the GameCube. It's kind of garbage. Gun, also an M-rated GameCube game. Starting to feel like there's more of these than I thought. Gun's pretty badass. You can 100% it in like 10 hours, but it's really good. Harvest Moon, Hitman 2, still one of the best Hitmans to me. Ikaruga, one of my favorite shooters, never beat it, probably never will. For GameCube, you have to have the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition, which has Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Zelda 1 and 2, I believe, and a demo of Wind Waker. Zelda Four Swords Adventures, fun with friends, not so much fun without. Which is how I beat it, not my favorite Zelda game. Twilight Princess, probably the darkest of the Zelda games, should probably be stored after Wind Waker there. And Wind Waker, my favorite Zelda game, bar none. We're playing this on Wii U right now, actually. 2 copies of Mario Kart Double Dash, but I think one is just an empty case that we found at a thrift store for like 25 cents. Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. I have good memories of playing this with my dad growing up when I was a teenager. You really only need 2 buttons to play the game, so it was something he could actually play. Medal of Honor Frontline, I was actually really big into this way back in the day. Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes, this was my introduction to the Metal Gear series. It's hard to say if it was the best introduction or not. I did go back and play the original PS1 version, and I like it quite a lot. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, it was my favorite of the Metroid Prime games. I don't actually have Metroid Prime 1, but now that there's an HD remaster or remake, whatever it is, I might pick that up. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, still the reigning king of the Paper Mario games. I love this one to death. Pokemon Colosseum and XD Gale of Darkness. The prices on these, again, got a little out of control. I'm not sure why, but Gale of Darkness was at least an honest attempt by the Pokemon Company at making a full-scale Pokemon game for a home console. which is more than I can say about their games now. Prince of Persia: Warrior Within, excellent game for its time. I still consider this to be the apex of the Prince of Persia series. So then we got the original Resident Evil 4, Robotech, Battle Cry, Star Fox Adventures. I said earlier, I'm not a big fan of the Star Fox games. This one, which is pretty much a Legend of Zelda title, I actually like quite a lot. So Super Mario Sunshine, Smash Bros. Melee, Tales of Symphonia, a classic for me, and Time Splitters 2. You know, a pretty good shooter from the not big names back in the day. Moving on to Wii, I'm gonna skip half of these because they're just really not that important, but we got Cooking Mama Cook-Off, Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. I'm still looking for Path of Radiance. That game is absurdly expensive and hard to get. Guilty Gear XX Accent Core, Kirby's Epic Yarn. I don't know how people felt about this one at release, but I think it has a better reputation now. The Last Story, I bought this one pretty much as soon as it came out. It was really weird because the beginning felt super cliche, like it was pulled from a bunch of Disney movies or something. By the time it wrapped, it was a very unique game, combat-wise and story-wise. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, never played it. Maybe I'll play the Switch version without the motion controls. Lost in Shadow, a cool little puzzle platformer where you navigate a shadow character through shadows that you manipulate and move around. Really cool game, way too fucking long for what it is. So here we got Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, but also the Metroid Prime trilogy on Wii. GameStop done some shady shit with this in the past. I recommend you look into it if you've never heard the story. So here we got, I don't know how many copies of Muramasa we have. This might be the only one, but I feel like we have more around for different systems. No More Heroes 2, Onichan Bara, Bikini Zombie Slayers. Kinda blows. Like really bad. It is an exercise, not just in frustrations, like it's an actual exercise to play it because the whole game is just with the Wiimote, which you know what they're trying to do with that, but it's super exhausting. Pandora's Tower. A lot of people really like this game. I have mixed opinions, but it is like a, you know, as far as Wii RPGs go, it's one of the more darker, kind of more interesting ones. And Phantom Brave, We Meet Again. This has been on, I swear to God, every system known to man. It's a really, really interesting TRPG with also really good music. You'll probably hear the music in this video. I use it any chance I get. Down one more shelf, we got the Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition. There's probably more copies of Resident Evil 4 coming. Sin and Punishment Star Successor. Honestly, one of the best games on the Wii. Super cheap at the time. I got it for like $5. Not that long of a game, but really visceral. Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 and Super Paper Mario. I hated Super Paper Mario when it came out. Replayed it a couple years ago. It's not as good as the other Paper Mario or Mario RPG games that came before it, but I think it's a lot better than I gave it credit for initially. Tales of Symphonia, Dawn of the New World. Tales of Zestiria. And, of course, Xenoblade Chronicles, which we bought at a time when it was really expensive and hard to get. We seen it in stores for the longest time, and we kept saying, oh, we'll wait for a sale, and then a sale never came. And I bought it for $90 on eBay. Moving on to Wii U, Bayonetta 2, which also includes Bayonetta 1. This is how I played both of those games. Gameplay-wise, I think I like Bayonetta 2 a whole lot more, but story-wise, Bayonetta 2 is not the better of the two. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Classic, fun, cute little, charming kind of puzzle game. Devil's Third, Devil's Turd.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
30 Great Games Obstacle Arcade. We bought at a bargain bin in a grocery store. This is, honest to God, one of the lowest rated games on Metacritic, and it kind of deserves it. Hyrule Warriors 1, I liked quite a bit, certainly a whole lot more than Age of Calamity. We got the HD remaster of, hang on, I'm doing a lot of talking, it's coming to me. The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess with a little Wolf Link and Midna amiibo in there, which definitely added some extra value to the package for us. Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate was probably my introduction to Monster Hunter. I got super addicted to this, and that's about when I instilled a rule for myself. If I play any game for 120 hours, aside from Mario Maker and Elden Ring apparently, I put it down and move on, because my backlog will keep getting bigger. New Super Luigi U, Considerably better than New Super Mario Bros. U. I like this a whole lot more. Every stage has a poison floor pretty much, and you got 60 seconds to clear them all, but that added level of difficulty made it a lot more fun for me. Super Mario 3D World I don't think was as respected as it should have been when it came out, but I like the game quite a lot. Super Mario Maker, one of my top 10 games, probably of all times, definitely one of the games I've played the absolute most. I did get Mario Maker 2 on the Switch, but the absence of the stylus and the editing screen like the Wii U had kind of made a bigger difference than I would have liked it to. And Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Special Edition. It's not one you really need a special edition for. It's like an okay game. It's not what anybody wanted. When it came over to Canada, it was cheaper to import it from the States because it was considerably higher priced than the rate of exchange here. And Yoshi's Woolly World with the little yarn Yoshi in it. I liked this game quite a bit. I don't know how other people felt about it, but it was a cute little time. My wife and I played it together. Zombie U, M-rated Wii U game. It was supposed to be some big thing to show that the Wii U was, oh, it's not for kids, but people liked it. I don't know. It didn't do much for me. Moving on to the Switch. I'm not going to pull all these out either, but we've got Animal Crossing New Horizons, Astral Chain, Ryza, Ever Darkness, and The Secret Hideout. Clannad. This is, still on my list of 2 plays. It's very long to clear every route, so I haven't been able to get to it. The Collection of Mana, Darksiders Genesis, I'll be getting to as soon as I beat Darksiders 3. Dead or School, crappy game, I like it quite a bit. Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition, probably one of the best places to play Dragon Quest XI. Well, let's see, Monster Hunter Stories 2, Musinks, these are not cataloged right now. The Legend of Heroes, Trails from Zero, Pokemon Violet, Omori, and 7 Pirates H. These are all recent plays for me, so they are also not cataloged. Gal Metal, probably one of the crappiest games on Switch. Honestly, it does not function as intended. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, worse than Gal Metal. Live Alive, probably my favorite of the HD 2D games right now. Here we have the other 2 Mary Skelter games. Between these 2, you actually have the whole trilogy. Here we have just the sequel to Deathmark. Octopath Traveler, I think, was a great foundation for a game. Really good combat. Some of the little stories were pretty good too. And, you know, being the first HD 2D game, it was quite the big deal when it came out. I have seen a lot of people lately kind of downplay its significance, and, you know, there's a lot more hate for the game than there used to be. My biggest issue, and it was a pretty big issue, was the lack of character interaction in the game. And Paper Mario the Origami King. Pretty divisive game when it came out. It didn't exactly review the best. I love this game to bits. Then we have a whole slew of Pokemon games. Senran Kagura Peach Ball. This was probably like $40 for the physical version. I would recommend, if you're interested in this, to just get it digitally for like $2.99 if it ever goes on sale that low. That's about what it's worth. Well, what else we got? The Super Mario 3D All-Stars, the one that was supposed to be pulled off the shelves in 2 months, but they overprinted it, something to the tune of 10 million copies. Everybody freaked out it would disappear and go up in price very quickly. It's only recently that copies finally sold out, and we're at least 2 years past the date. Super Mario Maker 2, I already said all I need to say on this one when I was talking about the first game. A lot more content here, it's just not as fun to create in it for me. Super Mario Odyssey, I actually like quite a bit. Couple Super Monkey Ball games here. Super Neptunia RPG, another divisive game, especially among Neptunia fans. The Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. They didn't do a whole lot for this version, but, you know, it's Tales of Vesperia. It's still pretty good. Third act kind of crumbles a little bit, but the game is pretty solid. And then we got a slew of Legend of Zelda games. Tokyo School Life, very, very forgettable little visual novel. To the Moon, excellent visual novel. Absolutely not forgettable. Here I have 2 copies of Umihara Kawase Bazooka, but one is a media copy. I don't have any clue what I'm going to do with that in the future. And Undernaut's Labyrinth of Yomi. This is on my 2 playlist. It went on a really good sale, so I picked it up. Looks a lot like Labyrinth of Refrain kind of games. And then, of course, the Xenoblade trilogy. Where's Xenoblade 2? Xenoblade 2 must be in the box over there, the collector's edition. But the torn up physical copy is here as well. In terms of Xbox games, we're probably going to be able to skip a lot of these, but we'll lump them all together. Sonic Frontiers, played on Xbox One. I like this game a lot, beat it in like 4 days. Recore, ReCore I was looking forward to for quite a long time. I knew it didn't review the best. I got it when I got my Series X, and just gonna say there was too much recoring in the game. I dropped it. The Evil Within 2 was a pretty good follow-up to the Evil Within 1. Kinda had too much stink of The Last of Us all over it, too much crafting mechanics and opening drawers and stuff like that. I didn't feel done the game much favors. I wish it was more like the first one, but it is what it is. I enjoyed the game for what it was. In terms of original Xbox games, we could skip most of these. We got Dead or Alive, the Fable and Fable Lost Chapters. Halo, always a fun classic to go back to. Another copy of Gun, which there might be another one later, I'm not too sure. Morrowind, some people still consider this the peak of the Elder Scrolls series. Oddworld, Munch's Odyssey, and Stranger's Wrath. Munch's Odyssey is when I started falling off from the Oddworld games. And of course the Playboy The Mansion game, which I haven't yet to play. Down one more shelf, we got Second Sight here, which I recently done a video on. I got The Room on DVD, but I also got it on Xbox here, Silent Hill 4, The Room. You're making noise over there. I know we're not giving you a lot of attention, we're busy. And then we got a whole bunch of Star Wars games. Star Wars Battlefront 2, still the peak of that series. I actually like these old movie tie-in games, and I seem to recall that Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, the game, came out before the movie did, so a lot of people were able to like beat this in the couple days leading up to the movie's release. Maybe sort of spoil themselves on it. So we got The Suffering here. I don't know if this is that remembered, but this is a excellent little horror third-person shooter. On to 360, we got a couple of the Army of Two games here. These aren't exactly good, but I enjoyed playing them with my buddies quite a bit. Blur, a fantastic little, like, kind of like a kart racer, but with actual cars. Darksiders 1 and 2, I already talked about those a little bit. Dante's Inferno, I consider this better than the original God of War trilogy, but I know a lot of people passed this up because it was kind of a clone of those. Dark Souls Collector's Edition, the Prepare to Die Edition, not the first version of the game I bought. This was sent to me from a buddy some years after, like probably after Dark Souls 3 came out. He just sent me this copy. Dead Space 1, 2, and 3. I like this entire trilogy, but I do understand the issues with Dead Space 3. Dead Space 2 is probably my favorite of the bunch. Upstairs right now I have Dead Space 1 Remake sitting on my kitchen table. And Death Smiles, one of the must-have shoot-'em-ups for the Xbox 360. Dragon's Dogma, excellent little Capcom game, kind of like Skyrim meets, I don't know, like Devil May Cry or some shit. It's a weird blend of mechanics in an open world. I don't know, it's just fun. It's fun to explore. Duke Nukem Forever, one of the most infamous games on the Xbox 360. People waited years for this, came out, nobody liked it. I got it real cheap. Thought it was fun. It was stupid. It wasn't great, but it was, you know, not a bad way to kill some time. The first copy of Eternal Sonata we're looking at today, the Xbox 360 version. This was my introduction to the game. I had a hard time getting on with this one. I must have started it 4 times and gave up 4 times. It wasn't until like years after I first tried it that I kind of warmed up to the idea of its narrative slant, and I have a lot more appreciation for it now. So we got the Gears of War trilogy here. I guess I have another copy of Gears 3 in the collector's edition. Excellent game. The second one's probably the peak. I skipped the Fear trilogy here. Also, great little series. Gets a little more action and shooter focus as it goes. Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, Halo 4, Halo Reach. Easily my favorite of the Xbox 360 Halo games. I think just because the story is like a bit of a tragedy. Less I say about Infinite Undiscovery, the better. Killer is Dead is a really unique Suda51 game. Down here we have probably the best RPG on the Xbox 360 and one of the best RPGs of the generation, Lost Odyssey from Hironobu Sakaguchi and Mistwalker Studios. This definitely deserves to be ported forward indefinitely. Copy of Shenmue here on Dreamcast. I'm sorry, these shelves here are just not the best organized. Tales of Vesperia, one of the first games I looked for when I got my 360. It was not easy to find in the town that I grew up in. And The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings Enhanced Edition. This was my introduction to the Witcher series. And Zone of the Enders HD Collection, which I actually haven't played yet. I think I picked this up at a yard sale for like $3. I don't play Master System. There's not much there for me to play, so I just don't really collect for it. We do have one, that's just all we got for it. Across the top, we got some loose Genesis games. Just gonna highlight a few here, I guess. Reproduction cart of Mega Man The Wily Wars, which never came out here. Rocket Knight Adventures. It's one of my favorite platformers on the Genesis. Arcus Odyssey, not the best looking cartridge, but it's a kind of like Gauntlet, I guess. And Landstalker, The Treasures of King Noel. This is a kind of like a Zelda clone, I guess, but it's definitely its own beast as well. I like this game a lot. For our boxed Genesis games here, I have Castlevania Bloodlines. This is my favorite Castlevania game. Shining Force 2, this might have been my introduction to TRPGs. I'm not too sure. When I was a kid, I had like all of the Genesis ROMs on a little CDR, and I'd play through all of them, and I stuck with Shining Force 2 and 1 for quite a while. And you got your Sonic games, Subterranea. Intellivision, I don't think anybody cares much about Intellivision, so we're gonna skip past that. Lion King on Sega Game Gear, Aladdin. I don't know how many copies of that Aladdin game we have. But I grew up with the Game Gear, real soft spot for it, but I don't exactly turn it on that much. All right, moving on. So next up, we got my PS1 games, not stored the best here. Bubsy 3D, of course, everybody has to have a copy of that. It's worth way more money than it should be because it's a pile of shit. Chrono Cross, I've done a video on this one. Diablo 1, I played on PC when it came out. It does have a cool little, you know, local 2-player mode on here, but this is not the best way to play Diablo. We got our Final Fantasy games here, Anthology, 7, 8, 9, you know, the best one. Heart of Darkness, a brutally difficult little platformer. It's only like 5 hours long, but it's on 2 discs because the cinematics take up so much space. Final Fantasy Tactics. If Shining Force wasn't my introduction to the tactic genre, this was. And this is honestly still one of the best ones. Xenogears, still one of the best JRPGs on the system, if not one of the best JRPGs literally ever made. One shelf down from that, we got the original Metal Gear Solid, PlayStation Hits version, MechWarrior 2, our 2 Oddworld games, Parasite Eve 1 and 2, one of the more unique JRPGs from that era. Got our Resident Evil 2 and 3, our Spyro the Dragon. Why do I have 2 copies of that? Are those the same? I don't know why I have 2 copies of that. I'm learning this right now. Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage, Year of the Dragon. We got Suikoden 1 here. Fat chance getting Suikoden 2 at the price it's at now, but there is an HD remaster coming soon. Tales of Destiny 1 and 2. I got Tales of Destiny 1 for 30 bucks because I bought it in a bundle. Tales of Destiny 2 I had to pay full price for, which at the time was 120 Canadian. But that completed my Tales of collection. It was the only one I was missing. Legend of Dragoon, actually my favorite RPG ever. Not everybody likes it. That's fine, whatever. Moving on to PS2, Ars Technica 1 and 2. Fantastic little overlooked games from the PS2 era. Clock Tower 3 here. Dark Cloud 1 and 2. Both remarkably different games, but like, you know, similar sort of themes. Drakengard 1 here. I've actually not played this yet. I'm trying to get the entire Drakengard trilogy before I do. Evergrace, a pre-Dark Souls FromSoft game. It's a little jank. I think a lot of people might have forgot about it, but it's not the worst game out there. Fatal Frame 1, 2, and 3. God only knows what these are going for now. They might have gone up in price, they might not have. These were like high priority for me when I rebought my PS2. And of course the Final Fantasy X, X2, and 12. I do not have a copy of 11. Down to the next shelf, Haunting Ground. I should probably put this in a protective case. This one is very, very difficult to get. For the price it asks, I don't think it's worth it. It's not the best game on the system. Definitely has a handful of issues for how expensive and highly regarded it is now. So we got the Jack games here. Let's get a close up here because this just really, really annoys me. When you're alphabetizing your games, something like this. All 3 of these have a different naming scheme. Jak Dexter, the Precursor Legacy, Jak 2 in Roman numerals, and Jak 3 with stupid like Anglo regular 3. The Manhunt games were pretty high on my priority list to get when I got the PS2. They haven't aged the best. They're not that easy to play, but they were certainly important games when they released. A little controversial. Next, Odin Sphere and Okami. 2 very important PS2 games. Got Prince of Persia, Warrior Within, and 2 Thrones, Psychonauts, which I think is a lot more popular now than when it came out. Run Like Hell, interesting little Mountain Dew sponsored game, I think starring Lance Henriksen from the Alien series. Shadow of Destiny, also known as Shadow of Memories overseas. Shadow Hearts, again, another one I'm trying to get the rest of the games in the series before I play it. I have not played this one yet, and I can't imagine it's the best place to start. Yet another copy of Silent Hill 4, The Room. Siren 1, one of the most unique survival horrors on the PS2. This is not going to be at everybody's taste, though. Tales of the Abyss, still one of the best Tales of games. and Tales of Legendia, probably one of the most underappreciated Tales of games. I get it was different, but it's a really, really good one. And Beautiful Joe 2, I had this on GameCube way back in the day, as well as the first one, and I think one called Red Hot Rumble. I think I had 3 on the GameCube. I can't quite remember, but I played them all there, and I'd like to play them all there again someday. It's just hard to find. And the Xenosaga trilogy. Some of these are very expensive now, but we got lucky at a thrift store one time and found Xenosaga 1 and 3 together for $1 a piece. I had no idea what happened to their Xenosaga 2, but we ended up picking this up years later. And here we have a closet just off the master bedroom with a whole bunch of our, old boxes of stuff, but there's one more thing in here that I'd like to look at. So when this game reached high enough value, decided to put this one in a safe. In a way, it's a little embarrassing, I guess, to have a game in a safe, but this is about $1,000 Canadian now. So if anything does happen to my house, it's a paycheck I'm going to want to have around. On PS3, Asura's Wrath, one of the more interesting sort of cinematic adventure games from the time. It's pretty much all QTEs. They screwed with the ending and some weird DLC practices, but it's a pretty fun, pretty crazy out there experience. Of course, you can't have a PS3 without some David Cage games. There's the worst one. Drakengard 3, so it's just the second one that I'm missing. Dragon's Crown. I'd like to buy the remaster version of this for PS4, but God knows how hard it is to find. Another copy of Eternal Sonata. This one considerably more difficult than the Xbox 360 version. Another copy of Final Fantasy X and X-2, the 13 trilogy, Folklore, which is probably going to be one of the more uncommon PS3 games going forward. Some of the earliest Neptunia games. Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. That was really big when it came out, probably reviewed really well. I liked the intro to the game more than the rest of it. Rather, the first 5 hours and the last 10 I thought were excellent. The stuff in the middle, it was what it was. Some more Tales of games. Guided Fate Paradox. I actually know nothing about this one. It might be a pile of crap. Somebody in the comments let me know. And Valkyria Chronicles. Moving on to the PS4, 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. We're starting with one of the best games on the system there. 428 Shibuya Scramble, one of the most unique visual novels. It uses nothing but live photographs. Really good game too. Eye of the Somnium Files from Spike Chunsoft. I've reviewed this. You can check it out on the channel. Kiba's Beat. I reviewed this once and deleted it because I wasn't fair to it, but I really do not like this game. Akiba Strip, Hellbound and Debriefed. Akiba Strip, Undead and Undressed, which this is not the first version of the game I have here. I think I just skipped it when I came across it on PS3. Alekine's Gun, one of the worst rated games on the system. I pre-ordered it and have a chess piece to prove it, which maybe we'll find later in the video. Bloodborne, of course, one of the best games on the system, still holds up. Needs a port though, just for that added FPS. Blue Reflection 1 and 2. These games got a lot more popular after their release. That doesn't make any sense because they can't get more popular before it, but you know what I mean. Danganronpa V3, still torn on the ending. So we got the Dark Souls entire trilogy here. I have more copies of Dark Souls 1 than literally any other game. More copies of Darksiders 1 and 2. Down to the next shelf, we have Disgaea 5 and Divinity 1 and 2, probably some of the best Western RPGs released in the last 10 years. And Doom and Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal definitely raised the bar on first-person shooters for me. I love that game to death. Dreams, I didn't spend as much time playing as I would have liked to. It's just really hard to create things on a controller, but it was certainly a fun little game to explore for a while. Ghost of Tsushima, I liked it quite a bit. One of the prettiest kind of picturesque worlds I think I've explored for a while. It was really nice to just look at the various vistas throughout the game. First of the RGG games I guess we're coming across here. Judgment Part 1, really good game. Kanagawa Jet Girls, not a great game. So much potential, just really busted balance. We got the Little Nightmares, it's not a box set, but a little collector's edition here with a little figure inside. And right next to that, it's Little Nightmares 2. Lords of the Fallen, one of the first big budget Souls-like games. Didn't review the best. I enjoyed playing it more or less until my save file broke, then I gave up. Man of Medan, one of the many entries in the Dark Pictures anthology. The game ran like crap and the story wasn't that great. I really did not like my time with it. Mega Man 11, enjoyed quite a bit. It's no Mega Man 2, but it's really good. Knights of Azure 1 and 2, I reviewed both of these on the channel. Knights of Azure 1 I'm always going to have more fond memories of, but I did not enjoy playing it as much as I enjoyed playing Knights of Azure 2. But that's a matter of, gameplay versus story. Oni-Chanbara Z2 Chaos, again, a relic from a past generation of Sony that they would not allow on their system. today. More David Cage games, once again, including his worst one, Beyond Two Souls. Remothered, which Radical Reggie told me I needed to play, so I did. I enjoyed it well enough. It's budget, but it is what it is.
Play Remothered yet?
And Rime, a sort of eco-like game that's really tugs on the heartstrings. I liked Rime a lot. And on the bottom shelf here, we have Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash, which was probably the best of their spin-offs. Schoolgirl Zombie Hunters, which I did not care for at all. Import of Shadow of the Beast from PAL Regions. I never completed it, but I did enjoy what I played. Shining Resonance Refrain is the best version of the game. I don't think it's the greatest game. Again, I have a review for this on the channel. You can check that out if you want to know more. So we got a handful of Sword Art games here. I'll just let my wife give her brief opinions on these. Sword Art Lost Song.
Throw it in the trash.
Sword Art Hollow Realization.
Addictive.
Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet.
I don't like it as much as other people.
Okay, and we have Sword Art Alicization upstairs. What's your Alicization Leak Horus?
Yes.
Okay, what's your opinion on that so far?
I kind of want to drop it.
Okay. Tales of Berseria, one of the best Tales game of the generation. Very dark, very emotional. A little busted combat, you're definitely a bit OP. Talos Principle, honest to God, a friggin' masterpiece of a puzzle game. Love that one a lot. Toho Genso Rondo Bullet Ballet is a really weird Toho spin-off. I don't know how to feel about it. I applaud them for trying something interesting. I just don't think it was all that fun. Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2, the kind of remastered versions. Relentless Edition, they call it. And Decisive Edition. Played those on Vita. I actually didn't play the PS4 ones, maybe someday. Trails of Cold Steel 3. I'm actually missing Trails of Cold Steel 4. I got a review code for it, and I haven't got around to picking up the game itself, which is the only one that I can say that about, but I'll get it eventually. So all the Uncharted games, which I played again for the first time just last year. Udawari Ramono Trilogy. I hope to play all 3 of them this year. I've played Mask of Deception before, but I'd like to play them all in order. White Day, a labyrinth named School. This one, to me, has some sort of historical significance. It spent a long time trying to get a official release in North America. And it's a really cool game, but it's also extremely frustrating. Then we got all of the Yakuza games, minus Ishin, which just came out. Zanki Zero Last Beginnings, which I don't think many people played. I highly recommend it. It's a very, very interesting game. Next, we're on to PS5, which, you know, I haven't played all of these yet. Astria Ascending, I've not played. Deathloop, I haven't played. We only have a copy because it was basically free when we ordered other games. Demon Souls, I've only played the PS3 version. My wife's played this one. It looks functionally the same, it just runs better. Elden Ring, I pumped 235 hours into this game in about a month and a half. One of the best games of the generation. Hades, super fun, but also really tedious, and the true game, true end requirements are kind of bullshit. Horizon Forbidden West, this was a wife thing. I think she settled on the first one being better.
Much better.
Much better. Immortals Phoenix Rising, wife, give me your opinion.
I want to kill it.
Cool. Kena Bridge of Spirits, super fun, super cute little game. One of the earlier PS5 titles. Returnal, I beat recently. Frustrating, some kind of wonky design in places, but it was good. It was really, really, really good. Oddworld Soulstorm was a disaster, and I hope they've patched the game by now, but I doubt they have. And Tales of Arise, I thought it was a pretty good game. It just doesn't have what it needs to be a classic Tales of game, and I hope we kind of get back to the roots a little more with later entries. And then I have like just a couple, I don't know, Game Wave. Who even knows what the fuck a Game Wave is? I got Lock 5 here for the Game Wave. Well, I'll show you what the console looks like later. Darkseid 1 on PC. All the artwork by H.R. Giger. Fantastic little point-and-click horror game. Still looking for a copy of Darkseid 2, which is the one I played more growing up and really, really fell in love with. And then, I don't even know what this is. Star Wars Episode 1 Insider's Guide. I think it's just like a thing you put in your PC, and there's like behind-the-scenes videos and like text or something, but that is about it for the game shelves. So we can cut here. All right, so that puts us back over on this side of the room. I got my guitar amp down there, box full of cables, whole bunch of guitars. Check out this ripping solo. Spent a long time writing that one. People are gonna think I'm actually that bad at guitar. The quote-unquote gauntlets that belong to Tarks over here. Inside here we have, you know, a whole bunch of controllers, more controllers here, more controllers here, controllers, a whole bunch of amiibos. Over here, we got my little bar set up. Unfortunately, everything on here is used for work at the moment, so you know, a couple unboxing stuff. There's the Mega Yarn Yoshi. I think we found him at Best Buy. I don't know if he was, not Best Buy, Toys R Us. I don't know if he was exclusive there, but there's no Toys R Us next to us. We kind of had to drive for a while. More amiibos. Animal Crossing puzzles, Animal Crossing, whatever that is. Some Pokemon Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire shit. Over here we got some Hue cards for the TurboGrafx. My Nintendo 3DS, the Link Between Worlds one is in here. Couple loose Game Boy games. We have more somewhere else. I don't really know where they are. Random Game Gear, some Game Boy Advance games. Chewbacca, I said there would be more Star Wars stuff around. Don't know where his wheels are. Couple more Star Wars things. Controller I haven't taken out of the box yet. Some game doubles, Vex, you know, sometimes I just feel like playing Vex. Don't know what's in here. Pre-order bonuses, extra toys, and like, of course, no collection is complete without some really bad plug and plays, which I think we played half of them. And, you know, a bag of peanuts. Everybody's got to have a bag of peanuts. They've been expired since October of last year. I might give them a try later. And you've probably noticed that, you know, I said I have like 20, 30 consoles, but we've seen, what, 5, 6 at this point? Well, the rest, you know, I like to keep things not too cluttered, so we keep them in this cubby in here. Everything extra is in here, which is a little bit to dig through. Random piece of art from a local artist. Of course, every collector has a box of power cables. I went through mine, you know, bagged them all up, labeled what they are. So power cables in one box, and AV cables and whatnot in another box. 20 copies of Persephone's Core album. Don't ask. Don't ask. I think that's actually what's in the box. I don't use it anymore. It's just too much for what I'm doing. All right, and all the extra consoles should be in here. Consoles and other things, apparently. So, you know, Wii Fit board, the NES Power Pad. There's the first PSP we bought, which was a pretty late released one. Nintendo GameCube in here, a Nintendo DS Lite, Star Trek 25th Anniversary, original box copy of System Shock, the Nuntaku mascot on a mouse pad. There's the box for the Link Between Worlds 3DS. PS2, PS1, N64, Dreamcast. This is not the prettiest way to store things, I get it, but like, man, when you just don't have any more space. There's one of, I think, 3 NESs down there. So that's about all I'm looking through box 1. We don't like to keep anything that we're not using out. It just kind of creates clutter. Box 2 is gonna be a little bit more of the same. The first 360, there's definitely more than one of those. Another PS2. Here we go. I said I'd show you the Game Wave. So that's the first half of it, and this here is the second half. So you can see, you know, when they're set up together, they kind of form a wave, Game Wave. All the controllers are like remote controllers, IR sensors. It really doesn't work very well. Like the IR sensor does not read the inputs very well. That's just some crappy little DVD player hybrid console. Canadian made. I think it has like 12 exclusive games, of which I have one. Back to the box. Got a TurboGrafx here. I don't really play that all too much. Sega Genesis Model 2. I think we found a Model 1 in the other box, I'm not too sure. Another Xbox 360, I think that one has problems. Original Xbox, I'm not gonna take out, it's just too goddamn big. 2 more NESs, underneath that's another PS1. So here we have the Intellivision 2. I've played that a lot more than I've played Atari, though we do have the Atari 2600 here. The actual PS1 model PS1. This is the first type of PS1 I had. It came out pretty late. You know, we were poor, so I got everything late. A really crappy little clone console, would not recommend. Sega Genesis Model 1. So yeah, we have to keep a lot of these things in boxes just to not clutter up our house. Aside from the crates, there's a bunch more stuff in here. We're not gonna get too deep into it. Let's turn the light on here. All right, come on in. The little cubby doesn't have the most space in it. We got some, I don't know, figure boxes because we just don't throw that stuff away. Donkey Konga stuff. There's a Samba de Amiibo controllers back there. Some more Wii accessory stuff, some Lego boxes. Oh, Game Boy Color box. Neat, we should probably find a better place for that. Over on this side, another capture card. A little splitter. These are absolutely valuable, especially if you're capturing something like PSTV or PS3. Sekiro poster, Pokemon map poster, random Borderlands poster, I don't know. Star Wars poster, should probably find a place to put that up. Yeah, some more Breath of the Wild artwork. Dark Souls artwork. This box here actually has like random unique things in it. Just things that have nowhere else to go. Random copy of Spore. Why is this not out with everything else? Oh, because it has a golf game in it. A bunch of Atari manuals and limited run game cards. A random copy of Diablo 2 that I'm sure I lost the key for. Dark Souls notebook, which I don't know what that would have come with. Oh, yes, right. The Alakine Gun pre-order chess piece. So pre-order the game, you can go put this little number in on their website and be entered for a chance to win a chessboard valued at $12. Which is more than the game itself was worth. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a random box of stuff. Got a double-sided lightsaber. Nowhere else to put it. Random sword in a box. A couple wall scrolls back here. I think this is the Etrian Odyssey Mystery Dungeon poster I mentioned earlier. But yeah, I like to think most game collectors have a cubby like this, but maybe that's something I just tell myself to not feel so bad about it. All right, let's get out. And the last little bit of this, we're gonna kill the audio quality because I can't be dragging a microphone all throughout the house. So let's go head upstairs. So this here is the living room. This is where I do most of my playing nowadays. If it's not for the channel, if it is for the channel, I'll be playing in the basement where I have my recording computer. Just random bookshelves, manga shelf, I don't know, special interest shelf. Just a couple other things here. We got the PS5 hooked up to the TV, the Wii U right now. We're playing Wind Waker HD, and the Steam Deck on a third-party dock. A couple more games over here we have on the go or we'll be playing soon, and other games in here that we intend on getting to soon. As you see, pretty much everywhere you look, there's more games. Dark Tyrannus lightsaber is the best one in existence. And of course our DVD shelves where we only buy Kino. So upstairs where the office is. So this is where I set up my last computer so that I can start editing here, where it's a lot more comfortable. It used to be that I would edit in the basement in the rec room from the couch, which is absolutely murder on the back. I've recently done the sound treating, so hopefully I can actually record in here, but it's still, you know, a little hit or miss on the quality. Having a glass desk, glass window, glass mirrors certainly doesn't help, but it is what it is. And let's look at this last room here. And this room over here is where the baby's gonna go. Thanks for watching.